Hey guys, I have an art journal page today for Dina Wakley's Show Us Your Media um, August challenge, which is challenge number 15. And I'm starting out in my small Dina Wakley media journal on one of the canvas pages, and I have a sheet of the new collage papers, and it's a bunch of like windows, and I want to have my paper in like a circle. And normally when I rip tissue paper, I take a wet paintbrush and kind of like run it around where I want to rip, and it makes it easier to rip. But this collage paper is so much better quality than the cheapy dollar store stuff I got. I had a really hard time ripping it, even with a wet line to use as a guide, but it turned out okay. I didn't want to cut it because I don't like that sharp edge look. I liked a little bit of a tattered look. So now I'm taking some Collage Page matte, and at first I was going to just adhere my circle in the center and leave the edges like flapping around, but then I thought I'd better cover the whole thing with the Collage Page, because when I put paint and stuff on top, I didn't want the paint to seep into the paper, the tissue paper. I wanted it to have a little bit of a barrier. So once that's dry, I'm going to use some of these scribble sticks for my background color, and I'm just going to take a paintbrush with some water and run that around the scribble stick to kind of activate the color, and then I can apply my color with the paint that's on the paintbrush, or I could also use taking the scribble stick straight to the page. And when I apply paint to my page with the scribble stick, what I like to do is use the pointy end, because when I do the stamping with the scribble stick, I like to have the flat end flat, because it's easier to apply the scribble stick on a flat stamp with the flat end of the scribble stick. So if that makes sense. And I don't always do it. Sometimes I just pick one up and forget, But at any rate, I'm using magenta, fuchsia, lemon, tangerine, a little bit of blackberry, and I'm just kind of haphazardly applying the colors all around. I'm also running it outside of the circle a little bit, just a little bit, and I'm making sure that some of the paint touches the edges in several spots. So I dried that first layer, and then I'm going to go in with the second layer to intensify the color. And really, I could have used acrylic paint, watered down acrylic paint, but I really like the scribble sticks, so I like using them. I think they're fun. I think they remind me of being a kid and coloring. So anyway, so yeah, I'm just going to intensify the color until I'm happy. And because the water was sitting on the scribble stick for much longer, I got a much more intense color the second time around. And then I'm going to take the black scribble stick and just add a little bit of splatters. And I'm taking I made some pour art on pieces of watercolor paper, and I'm taking one of those pour arts, and I'll link to the video that you can see the actual pouring art process. So I'm taking one of those pour art pieces, and I'm going to make it into a tag shape. So I'm just using a regular tag as like a template. And I didn't want the tag quite as big as the original tag was, so I'm going to tweak it a little bit. And now I'm going to take some dictionary page and apply that to my tag. And at first I opened to a random page, and then I wanted to see if any words jumped out at me, which they didn't, so it didn't really matter which end was up or which side of the page was up. So I'm just going to apply that with some Collage Page matte, and then I'm going to fold my edges so I can rip my paper instead of cutting it, because I like that tattered edge look. And then I can use my original tag to mark where my hole's going to be, and then punch my hole with my big bite. And then I took it to my sewing machine and ran it through my sewing machine 2 times, and then I added a little bit of zigzag up at the top. And this is one of my current favorite techniques, using book page on a tag with some sewing around it, which I got from Corey Harriman, and I just love the way it looks so much. It calms things down. It's a nice place to put a stamp. So shout out to her again for that technique, because I'm pretty much obsessed with it. And I hope I'm saying her last name right, because that would be pretty embarrassing if I wasn't. Anyway, so the reason I'm adding the book page behind my text is because the Poor Art tag is pretty busy and my background is pretty busy. So the book page tag just kind of calms things down and grounds it a little bit, and breaks up that busyness just a little bit. I'm also going to go around the edges of both of my tags with a little bit of a black ink pen. And I felt like my background needed a little bit more zhuzhing, so I'm taking a circle stamp that's an older one from Dina Wigley, and using my Ocean scribble stick just to do a little stamping there. And it's a really nice pop of, the blue is a really nice pop against the colorful background, and I really enjoyed the way it came out. So I'm taking this girl from the Quirky People stamp set, and I'm just going to stamp her out on some cardstock. And then the quote that goes for this month's Show Us Your Media challenge is "I've Got My Own Back" by Maya Angelou. And I'm just going to stamp that out with my Tim Holtz typeset foam stamps. And we're going to kick it into hyperspeed because it did take me a while to stamp it all. And once that's all stamped, I originally was going to put my girl on like the bottom of the tag, but then there was a lot of blank space up at the top of the tag, and more of the quote was down towards the bottom, and I didn't want to obscure the whole quote by sticking her on top of it. So I just moved her up and then used a little bit of the Dina Wakley washi tape to ground her so she didn't look like she was just floating in midair there. And then I'm going to use some tacky glue, some clear tacky glue, to adhere the 2 tags together. And then I'm going to do some journaling with a black fine tip Posca pen. And I'm just journaling about, the prompt was, I've got my own back. What do you do to have your own back? What do you do, you know, to kind of self-care and that kind of thing. And I don't know if this happens to you guys, but whenever I like scribble journal, I start talking about one thing and then it goes off to a completely different thing. Well, I guess it wasn't completely different. I was talking about how I had my own back, and then I started remembering how I've always been the type of person to have other people's backs as well, and generally like the underdog type people, like in grade school and high school. I hated a bully and I hated kids getting picked on, so I was always kind of in these little situations where I was sticking up for people and getting into a little bit of trouble because injustice all around just ticks me off, man. So yeah, that's what it turned into. And then I felt like my background needed a little bit more of something. So first I took the washi tape and put some of the washi tape, and I wasn't happy with that. And then I had these stickers. I printed out I took pictures of my artwork and then turned them into circles and cut them out of sticker paper on my Cricut electronic die cutting machine. So I thought maybe I would add some of the circles, but it was just too much then. So I was like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to leave it alone. So I adhered my tag down, and then my favorite thing to end a page or project is add a bright pop of color with some splatters. So this is some FW acrylic oh my God, I can't think of what it's called. But it's cyan, processed cyan blue, and it is this gorgeous pop of blue, and I just love it so much. So as I was taking the still photographs, I noticed my quote was getting lost a little bit, so I outlined it with a white pen. So that's why you see that in the photograph there. So that's it for this, for the Show Us Your Media Challenge number 15. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, guys.